Hello, good afternoon. You've tuned into Your Stocks, coming live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Vinny Motiwala. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. And in terms of the markets, let's look at that, right? Recovered from the day's lowest point, again came down a bit in terms of the points over there, but 26,000, that psychological mark that we've been keeping an eye out on, the Nifty is managing to hold on to that today. So that is something interesting that we'll be keeping an eye out on as well. 26,137, approximately there is where the Nifty is trading at. Look at the bank Nifty. Now that is down 0.4% in today's trading session. That too has recovered with the market from the day's lowest point. We'll watch out for that as well. Nifty IT, when you look at that, that also actually managed to even go to the green at one point of time, came off that green point, still almost a recovery that we're seeing from the day's lowest point overall for the market. Broader end of the market continues to see a bit more of a pressure versus the Nifty 50. So Nifty mid cap is down 0.6%, small cap too is trading with cuts of almost 0.6 to 0.7%. So some bit more of a pressure that we're seeing on the broader end of the market. But this is a show where we solve all your stock related queries, and to do just that, we have Shahina Mukadam, independent market expert, and Vaishali Parekh, vice president technical research at Prabhudas Lilladher, to answer all those stock related queries. Shahina as well as Vaishali, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on the show as always, and happy Friday to both of you all. Vaishali, before we jump to the queries, a check in terms of 26,100 levels for the Nifty. If we manage to close above that, what is the trajectory now for the Nifty? What are we keeping an eye out on?
Hi, very good afternoon, Vinny, and thanks for having me. Well, market has been a bit choppy, but broad-based, the index has been showing a lot of strength. Today, we saw a weak opening, but I think near-term basis, 26,000 is acting as a good support. And hoping that we close about 26,200 levels, we would be expecting a further target of 26,400 to 500 in near future.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on those levels over there. Thanks for that, Vaishali. But let's get started with those queries then. And the first query for today is coming from Nitin Agarwal, who's writing to us from Noida. He's holding 900 shares of Biocon, and this is at a price of 374 rupees per share. Currently, the stock is at 400 rupees per share. Now, he wants to know the long-term story for Biocon. Is it a good bet, and should he continue to hold this stock? Shahina, your view for Biocon?
I would suggest continue to hold. Basically, if you look at the very short term, yes, valuations may look a bit expensive. But if you look at it over a 1 to 2 year period, they start looking more attractive. On an EV by EBITDA near term, it's expensive, like 20 times. But if you look at, let's say, compare it to the turnover, so it's about just 3 times, which I think for the quality of Biocon, its manufacturing facilities, management, it's not expensive. Having said that, I would still take FY26 as a year of consolidation because this is the time where they're actually repaying a lot of debt. There is likely to be a merger of its subsidiary within itself, Biocon, in the second half. So I would take this as a year of consolidation and continue to hold. We saw the second quarter numbers, they were very strong. And I would believe the biosimilars will continue to drive growth even going forward. They have got good products, like they've got almost 5 products of biologicals in the US market as of now. And there, the market, they already got more than 25% market share in most of them. So I would see this area, well, prices may remain a bit soft in biosimilars, but that does not matter. I think they are going to do pretty well if you take a 3-year time frame. So I would remain invested in Biocon.
Continue to remain invested. A lot of fundamentally positive moves that will come in from the company as well. And biosimilar, Shahina saying that will do well. Vaishali, your view on the technical front. What are we keeping an eye out on over there, right? In the last 1 year, when you look at the 52-week range, around 291, 300 to 400, in that range what the stock has been moving in this 52 weeks. What are we keeping an eye out on going forward? Is there an expectation of an up move now?
I would say when I'm looking at the longer term charts and all, of course, the stock has been showing a lot of strength, but it was just vulnerable with few days back. We just saw some negative report coming in. So we saw a little bit of a dip. But when I'm looking at the longer term horizon, I think this stock is ready to make new highs soon. For now, I would expect a range of 370 as support and 420, 430 as the target resistance. But I think once we see the stock moving above that, and I think chartically it is not in an exhausted state. So I feel there is scope for an upside. One should stay invested.
Okay, should stay invested. That's a word on the fundamentals and technicals. Next query for today, we have Tanai, who's writing to us from New Delhi. He's holding 100 shares of Suzlon. Price is 59 rupees per share. Should he continue to hold or now sell this one? He's making some bit of a loss. Shahina, your view?
Well, here I believe that the stock, if you look at it over a 3-year time frame, is giving you such a good return, and it has actually made the near-term valuations pretty expensive. So I would take part. I mean, he's making slight loss, so I would take book half of my loss now and hold the rest for long term, because I believe the valuations even for the next 1 odd year is likely to remain on the higher side. If you look at it, EV by EBITDA FY27 20 times, price to book 10 times. So I think this expensive valuation will likely to keep the stock. You may have a time-wise correction rather than price-wise correction. And order book is strong. They've got more than 6.1 gigawatt order book on hand. But competition is also increasing, especially in solar, coming in from solar. So all these factors, I believe, would keep the stock, the upside a bit capped.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on those factors over there. Thanks so much for that, Shaina. But Vaishali, on the charts and technicals, what are we keeping an eye out on, right? Because the company has seen, in terms of a stock move, its fair share of ups and downs. And right now, overall for the year, it's down 15%. What should we now keep an eye out on?
So, well, near-term basis, the stock is definitely showing some weakness. I think this can drag down towards 53 odd levels. But on a broader picture, I think 450 acts as a very good support. So the view is positive as long as the levels of 50 are held on. And I think once it gets into a momentum and goes above 63, 65, this can call for a further upside. But if the level 50 for a long-term perspective breaks, then that would negate my view and this would get into a further selling pressure. So for now, it's definitely a hold. For a longer-term horizon, 50 should act as a support.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out on that. 50 should act as a support. That's what we'll watch out for. Let's move on to the next query then. We have Rahul Malhotra, who's writing to us from Pune. He's holding 200 shares of Praj Industries. Price is 300 rupees per share and wants to know the long-term view on the stock. So he's bought at 300. Stock is trading at 336, making a profit. Shahina, your view?
Well, if you take a longer term 5-year view, the stock has really not given you any return to an investor. And there are a lot of issues over here. There's execution problems. They have actually, they're not able to absorb the higher raw material costs. It's impacting the overall margins in a big way. So even if they're able to maintain their revenues, which were actually disappointing, in fact, not too much of growth, but their profitability is getting impacted. The only upside that is possible, if at all, is in case the government increases the price of molasses, then you may see a bit of sentiment upside. Having said all this, I would say it is better to switch from Praj, look at some other stock or investment for investment.
Okay, we'll surely keep an eye out on that. And Praj Industries for you, would you say hold on to this or maybe look at some other bets here?
I would definitely say give it a miss because, this stock has gradually seen erosion right from 850 to 900 levels and now 330 levels. So even if I'm looking at a daily chart or a weekly chart, there is no sign of revival for now. Only consolation is that, yes, it's in the deep oversold zone. So we can expect a bounce, but I don't think it makes sense. That would be wishful thinking. Give it a miss.
Okay, give it a miss instead of having those wishful thinkings. Thank you so much for that, Vaishali. But let's move on to the next query. We have Tina Gupta, who's writing to us from New Delhi, holding 110 shares of ONGC, price is 75 rupees per share, making a good profit on this one. Now wants to know whether they can hold this for the long term and actually look to add also at these levels for the long term. Your view on this one, Shahina, looking to add more?
Well, I wouldn't suggest to add. In fact, he has gotten at a very good price. I would, in fact, suggest take some profits off the table. There are a lot of other strong PSU stocks which have better potential over the next 3 to 5 years. You can look at something in banking, something in defense, equal quality. See, ONGC, I would believe that crude oil prices have come off if you even compare it to last quarter. Last quarter, the average selling was 67 BBL. Now, currently, it's ruling, I would say it'll rule between, say, 58 and 62 dollars per BBL. Now, to that extent, we do not know how the quarter will end going forward or the year will end, but I think it's going to remain weak. Also, the October numbers in terms of production were not that good. We saw some bit of decline in terms of overall production. Valuations, of course, I mean, I don't want to sort of make any comment on it. This is, of course, not expensive, but I would still say that you switch.
Switch is the word coming in here. And for you, Vaishali, ONGC, what should the viewer do?
I totally agree with China. Actually, even on a chartical view, if you see, the stock is really not participated. It has just been for the longest in a narrow range. So for now, I would just say it is just a range of around 235 to 260, 270. That's what one can expect at the most. So, well, I don't see any strength for now.
Okay, don't see much strength for now for ONGC. Switch is the word on the technicals and fundamentals. On that note, we're going to actually sip into a very short break, viewers, but an update for you all as we sip into the break, because in a big news week dominated by the Bihar elections, CNN News 18 continued to reign as the undisputed leaders in English news. The channel stood significantly ahead of the competition combined, and a feat testament to the faith responded by the viewers in CNN News 18. Welcome back to Your Stocks on CNBC-TV18. As of now, Nifty continuing to hold under 26,140, 150 levels around that mark. Let's keep it going then with the stock-related queries, right? We still have Shahina Mukadam as well as Vaishali Parekh with us. Let's keep it going then. And the next query for today is on two stocks. This is Bajaj Housing Finance and Piramal Pharma. Now, Siva is writing to us from Hyderabad. He's holding 175 shares of Bajaj Housing Finance. Price is 128 rupees, so they're making a loss on this one. The other one is Piramal Pharma. 65 shares they're holding at a price of 195 rupees per share. Piramal Pharma, not Piramal Finance. So they're holding Piramal Pharma. Now, he's asking if he can hold the shares for a time period of 6 months to 1 year. What's your view on this one, Shaina? Piramal Pharma, Bajaj Housing Finance, both of them.
I don't think he's going to make too much money. In fact, he may not make any money in the next 6 months on either of these stocks, even from current levels. Though both the stocks have, been a bit soft if you take a little longer term period. Bajaj Housing Finance. In terms of valuation, it is quite expensive compared to the rest of the housing finance companies. And it's price to book of about 4 times. And other than that, the expectation was that post the IPO that they listed and they got funds into the company. The expectation was they will do double the growth that the rest of the housing finance companies were doing, which is around 13 to 14%. But if you saw last quarter numbers, instead of 25%, I was a bit disappointed to see that the growth is now closer to the rest of the housing finance companies versus the expectation. So I believe that the stock will consolidate around time-wise correction is likely for the stock till we see some good numbers start to come in terms of overall growth. Management, of course, is strong. Now, the similar cases with Piramal. They had restructured their operations in 2022 where they had demerged their business. Now, from that time, the performance has been very erratic. Last year, they ran into huge losses. Now, even this first half, they have actually done a net profit loss, but on the EBITDA levels last quarter, second quarter, they have turned profitable. But I still believe in terms of valuation, compared to the market cap of close to about 25,000 crores, the revenue, the ratio of turnover to market cap is quite expensive. So I see both these stocks, Piramal Pharma as well as Bajaj Housing, not move too much from here, at least for the short term.
Okay, not too much move expected here from the short-term point of view. Vaishali, your view on both the stocks, Bajaj Housing as well as Piramal Pharma. What should they be doing? 6 months, 1 year, targets, anything?
So I would not recommend a buy, but if one is holding, then I would say for Piramal Pharma, of course, it has been a laggard, but I think technically it is well placed. So if one has to exit, I would suggest exit, wait for a bounce at least up to 210 to 20. That would be a level to exit this stock. And in fact, if the stock goes above 220, because as such, there is no negation on the chart. It's just been in a narrow range right from I think to a nearly for 6 to 8 months, right, within the range of 180 to 200, 210. So, well, one should hold and have a relook at 200, 210 levels. If this sustains above that, then I think perhaps it could get into a good momentum and go towards 230, 240. So not in a hurry, but I would not recommend a buy at this level. And as far as Bajaj housing is concerned, well, that too is showing a lot of weakness. So I would not say that it's a buy, but wait for a bounce to exit.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out on that. Wait for a bounce to exit there. So keep an eye out on those, bounce. If there's anything that comes, you can look to exit the stock. Next query for today. This is from Anandi R, who's writing to us from New Delhi, holding 100 shares of two FMCG companies. One is Jyoti Laboratories at a price of around 495 rupees per share, 100 shares there. The other one is HUL, 35 shares at 2,800 rupees per share. Wants to know if we should book the losses or switch to some other stock. Shahina, what's the view coming in? FMCG, staples, given the boost that we've seen in the recent times, it's expected to do well. But both these stocks, should they continue to hold?
Well, HUL is expected to do better in the second half in terms of volumes because, we saw the last quarter, the revenue was flat. Basically, GST instead of being a positive was actually somewhat of a negative for them. So that actually the volumes will pick up in the second half. So, and also the demerger of the ice cream business, which I think an investor should hold on for. Because they'll get one share of the ice cream business, and I think there is value unlock over there. For Jyoti Labs, I would say it is better to exit. They are not doing well in their in either of their dishwashing segment as well as the insecticide segment. They have actually reported flat revenues if you saw quarter numbers, and margins under pressure. The costs were higher. So I would say even in terms of valuation, it is expensive. So it is an exit.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out on that. Bit expensive in terms of valuation for Jyoti. So that is where the exit comes in. Your view on both these stocks, HUL as well as Jyoti Laboratories, Vaishali?
HUL, I think technically it is very well placed right now. It makes it a favorable risk reward ratio. So if this person is making a loss, I would suggest to average out at these levels. Keep a stop loss of 2350 because that makes it a very favorable trade. And this could take the stock up towards 2600 levels. So I guess for now it's a hold or perhaps add more at these levels. And the other one you asked me is Jyoti Labs. Well, there's nothing really happening in the stock. It has not shown any trend. It's just a sideways move. So I would say avoid this stock.
Okay. Thanks for that view there. Let's move on then to the next query. Deepak Joshi is writing to us from Karnataka. He's holding 300 shares of NBCC. Price is 70 rupees per share. A long-term investor and wants to know whether to hold or sell and book out their profits. Your view on this one, Shahina?
Well, he's gotten at a good price. And I would say you can continue to hold because, the problem over here is not their order book. They have got huge order book of about over, I think, 1 lakh crores. But there they have got, and even the recent one actually, which saw some momentum come back into the stock, is the big order. They got 3,700 crores from Rajasthan to develop area around the Jaipur airport. So these are all positives. But in terms of pure valuations, I think if you look at it in terms of EV by EBITDA, it's about 30 times. So this actually, in my view, will limit an upside in the stock over the next, say, 6 months to 1 year, unless they show a major improvement in operations and numbers. So I would say take a slight up, wait for a slight bounce, maybe 10% higher, and then you could switch.
Okay, and on the technicals, your view, Vaishali?
Well, the stock has been showing some momentum since a few days, but it's just oscillating. So 110 is acting as a very good support, 108, 110. And we are waiting for the stock to move past 119, 120. Once that occurs, and if we sustain about those levels, then I think the stock is going to witness some strength and we can see a target of 135 to 140. So let's wait and watch for some time. I think the stock should participate from here on.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out on those levels over there for NBCC. Wait and watch right now for the stock. But that was the last query for today. So Vaishali as well as Shahina, thank you so much for tuning in as always and helping us solve all those queries. Hope you all have a great weekend. And viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, please email us your queries on the email ID that's at the top of the screens for you all. And we'll get them answered Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays at 2 p.m. on Your Stocks. But with that, we'll wind down the edition of Your Stocks today. Up next, you have Closing Bell to take you through the last hour of trade.